What do you think is the most valuable asset a salesperson can have to be great at sales?
I would say it's like a myriad of things, but if I could point one out, and it's a very boring one, but extremely important: time management. Like,
Mhm.
if you want to be good at sales, you better be organized and be on top of your calendar. Like, I wrote a post on LinkedIn on the other day saying that Marilyn Monroe said diamonds are girls' best friends. For me, it's my calendar. I don't care about diamonds. I care about my Google Calendar.
Because then you can
And
buy the diamonds. You don't have to have.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. First the calendar, then the diamonds. Like.
And now the man you've been waiting for, John, the sales machine, Rankins.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is a master class instructor from Germany. She's passionate about helping sales leaders deliver effective coaching. The commercial director at Wonderway, a German sales enablement startup that's developed an AI coaching tool. Coaching that gives sales reps feedback after their calls. At Wonderway, she hosts and moderates sales webinars, has 2 sales podcasts that empower companies all over the world, and is now working on a sales book in Portuguese. She is a baller, ladies and gentlemen, filled with a rich history in B2C and B2B sales across the United States, Belgium, and Germany. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome her to the podcast, The Sales Machine. Please welcome Mafalda Johannsen.
Thank you, John, for the invitation. Super happy to be here.
Yeah, and we're really glad to have you on. The world is changing more than ever before with the sales landscape. I've been in the game for 30 years, and I never thought I would be in software, but here I am. And not only have we developed the sales machine software to automate sales performance, around the globe, empowering people to be better at sales to help companies around the world. And that's what you're doing. So tell me about Wonderway, how you got involved, what you do, why you do it, and how you do it.
All right, those are a lot of questions, but I'll try to summarize that. So, Wonderway, as I mentioned, is a sales enablement startup in Germany, in Berlin, and we have 2 products. One of them is the Wonderway LMS. So it's the software that companies use to onboard and train their sales reps. And then we developed an AI coach that will be speaking about it probably later in the podcast. As you mentioned as well, an AI coach that gives you personalized feedback after each call. The reason why I joined Wonderway 3 years ago was my background is business development. I was an SDR myself, and I was never trained and onboarded properly. And that's a reality for many companies and for many salespeople. And there are many people who actually, they give up on the sales career because they didn't have proper training. And sales is already, a great but challenging job. If you're not set up for success, then not only a couple of them survive. The others, they just move away from sales. And when I saw Wonderway, which the mission was to set up people for success and to onboard them properly, I was like, this is the mission that I'd like to join. And that's the reason why I joined Wonderway at the time, and the reason why I'm still here. So yeah, basically, on the side, that's also why I have the podcasts. Also, as I mentioned, it's free resources. You don't have to leave your data or to pay or anything. They're just available for free. Also with the same, mindset, which is here's sales knowledge. Here are tips that you can apply. Here's how you can be better at this amazing profession. And yeah, so that's basically also what I do at Wonderway, because we also, as I said, it's a platform where you onboard your sales reps and you train your sales reps. And I also consult and help my customers with training tips and to-dos and not to-dos when onboarding and training your sales reps to make sure that they have everything they need to be successful at their roles.
Okay, great. And you guys develop AI to empower the sales reps as well. And you call it Wonderway AI coaching, right?
Yes, yes.
So tell us about that.
So the reason I can give you the context of why we created that, right? Because once OpenAI was like, let's say, available for every single company, like the next day we start seeing everyone like with AI tools popping up, right? And we didn't want to be another company that is using AI just for the sake of it. And the reason was with our LMS, so our first product, even though it's super easy to use and it has everything you need to onboard you and train your sales reps, the managers, right? So our customers, they still need to take some time to add the content to it, review, set it up. It's a tool, right? If you don't use it, it's useless, even though if you have a great tool. No tool is good if you don't use it properly. So we also start seeing that usually sales managers, they are so busy and they have so much on their plates, they would neglect the platform. They'd forget to give feedback or they wouldn't add all the content. So we wanted to build something that would coach and help the sales reps without depending and relying so much on the sales manager. And that's why we developed this AI coach that listens like to every single call, from discovery to demo to cold calling. And then in the end, the sales reps, they get like a summary of what went well, what didn't go so well and why, and some advice on how they can improve for the next call. Because we also saw that because sales managers are super busy, they also don't have time to listen to the recorded tools on the conversation intelligence tools. They don't have time to review definitely not all the calls, sometimes one call per rep, and sometimes 2 weeks after that call happened. Well, between now and the next like feedback session, there are a lot of many calls that maybe they messed up on something that could have been avoided, right? So timely feedback is extremely important as well. And that's what we try to solve with our AI coach. And also, that doesn't remove the role of the manager in coaching. On the opposite, the manager, as he or she doesn't have to sit in every single call, they can just see the aggregated results and see that sales rep A is always messing up on this part of the call and is always doing this part really great. So they know exactly for which rep, which one they should like coach on. So it also empowers the managers to, instead of like spending time of listening to all the calls, the time that they don't have, to actually use that short amount of time to coach and be with their team. So there's by no means like a replacement of the manager.
So does it in actuality manage, track, and measure the individuals as well as the whole?
Yes. So basically, it's like it's based on a large language model, right? It's on an LLM. It means that it can read like context, and then it gives feedback per call, per rep, and the rep gets feedback in every call, but also then aggregates the results per rep. So the manager can check what's going on in general on the last month, for example, what happened in all the calls, in a very like high level overview. That's really easy to check. And as I said, then they can take action on the improvement areas, let's say.
They can give individualized coaching for what's working, what's not, and what they can do differently.
Exactly. Because another thing we've seen, and also on my podcast, Sales Training Deadly Sins, something we see is companies tend to give one size fits all training, which is fine once a year. And in the SKO, in the kickoff, if you want to do a training on negotiation, that's fun, do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But then if you want to give like recurring coaching, it should be individualized, because maybe what you struggle with is not what I struggle with. So it's either relevant to you or to me. To both, it's difficult.
Exactly. Like my hair, right? Obviously, you're not struggling, but I am.
Exactly. Like if each one of us, well, your words, not mine.
No worries, Mustafa. So, no, I love that. I love that. And I love your energy because, sales are fun. And like I've had
Yeah,
an amazing journey, 30 years. And my first 7 years, door to door in 7 different countries around the world. I mean, I went door to door in India where, I literally had
that's
people
fantastic.
throwing their breast over me, and it was like 80-year-old women. So it's not like it was like, impressive. Like I've dealt with a lot of different environments and scenarios.
My first sales job was in Florida in the United States, and I
Oh,
was
we're going to
convincing
talk about
people.
that.
Yeah, I was convincing people to go to, timeshare presentations, and I was working in a 100% commission job. So I know what you mean with like, I didn't start in sales in a very sexy, job or curriculum, but I think we all started there. No.
Yeah. And, it's so funny. I asked everybody that gets on the Sales Machine podcast, tell me about the first thing you ever sold.
Yeah, yeah. Well, timeshare.
Timeshares. Right on.
if you don't if you don't count like cake in school to pay
Oh,
for
I
our
count it
trip
all.
for a field trip. Oh, there you go. Then it was cake when I was 13 in school to pay for a field trip to the mountains. Yeah, because I come from Portugal. We are a poor country, so we need to, juggle here and there to get things. So we were selling cake. Yeah, so that would be my first month.
Right on. My mentor is from Portugal.
Really?
Yeah, his name is George Fonseca. He runs the Fonseca Group.
That's a very Portuguese name.
Yeah, George Fonseca, his BF Grupo. He's very successful. He's been my mentor for a while and similar business. And now he's in property development. He's in solar. He's got a couple private jets. He flies all the famous footballers around. But most importantly, he's got a heart of gold.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah, he's an amazing man. So I love Portugal. I've been to Portugal. What an experience. Man, oh man. I love the Portuguese. I love the beaches. I love the food, the culture. Like, I've been to Spain and I've been to Portugal, and my Spanish friends are not going to like it.
Yeah, and we love to hear that. Yeah, we love to hear that because we are the small country near the big neighbor, right? So we love to hear when people prefer Portugal than
And it's one of the greatest places to live in the world. I mean, rated like internationally rated. And it's because the lifestyle and the people, yeah, gorgeous
yeah.
people. Love it.
And we all speak English.
Yeah. And you all speak English, right? I can order at every restaurant. And for the most part, it's a lot of, I order a lot of, those little octopuses that you guys, in the beginning of the meal. Oh my God. And the wine, man, it's a lovely place. I love Portugal.
Glad to hear that.
So yeah, I was a paper boy. I sold carnations for my school and literally sold more than everybody. Newspaper boy, literally won all the awards for increasing subscriptions. And this is like
fantastic
200 years ago when there was newspapers and I was just a little guy. All right. I'm a vampire, so I don't age very well. Yeah, and I really love the journey of sales. And so what do you think? And, we have AI now and there's a lot going on with the world. And I've had sales experts from all over the world, Jeffrey Gitomer and a lot of AI experts on the show. And what do you think is the most valuable asset a salesperson can have to be great at sales?
I would say it's like a myriad of things, but if I could point one out, and it's a very boring one, but extremely important: time management. Like, if you want to be good at sales, you better be organized and be on top of your calendar. Like I wrote a post on LinkedIn on the other day saying that Marilyn Monroe said diamonds are girls' best friends. For me, it's my calendar. I don't care about diamonds. I care about my Google Calendar.
Because then you can buy the diamonds. You don't have to have.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. First the calendar, then the diamonds. So I think that and I've seen in my team as well. The most successful salespeople, as I said, there are many things that they have to be great at. But because the salesperson has to be good at so many things and have to juggle so many things, time management in an organization is crucial. Otherwise, you get lost. You get lost on the deals, on the prospecting side, on everything, because it's so many things happening at the same time, and more now than ever. Because as you mentioned, the AI and things are shifting, right? So first was COVID, everyone home. Then COVID was a bit, was not a problem anymore. People got used to it, to be at home and work from home. Then we have the recession, right? And now we have AI. It's like, even without all of these, sales, it's already a multitask job. And then you have the multi-touch approach and the multi-this and multi-that. And when you get on things, you really need to be very focused to be successful, especially nowadays, and especially in B2B SaaS sales. Maybe if we sell an easier product or a transactional product, maybe that's different. But everyone who works in B2B sales, they really need to use calendar and AI now, because I know there are a lot of people who, and I understand that they fear AI, also because we don't know what's to come, right? We got, as I said, first COVID and the war, then the recession, now AI trying to steal our jobs. But I see AI as an amazing, as you mentioned, co-pilot, because I'm an extremely busy person, and I'm not the only one. As I mentioned, sales managers, sales reps are very busy. So now we have something to help us. And many of them are free, right? ChatGPT, you can use the free version and already helps you. So you have, I call ChatGPT the assistant that you didn't have the budget to hire, right? So now I have something that I can delegate the mind-numbing work that I have to do anyway. So I think that sales reps and sales managers, they can use AI to be better at selling or to be focusing on what really matters. The example I gave before with our AI coach, now the manager doesn't have to sit in every single call. They wouldn't do it anyway because they have so many things to do.
Yeah, you got 1,000 reps.
Yeah, exactly. You can't.
And they're dialing for dollars every day.
Exactly. It's impossible.
Yeah, and it depends on the, whether you're B2B or B2C, but as an example, there's call centers around the world. I'm currently in Manila. I have a headquarters here, and I have a staff and an organization that serves the world for the sales machine, as an example. And it's number one in the world for call centers and business process outsourcing centers, BPOs, that do follow-up customer service. They do sales. They do a lot of different tasks, right? And a lot of them are dialing for dollars, whether they're booking demos, whether they're sales development representatives getting the next call for a B2B sale in a pipeline. And a lot of these people, they make 40, 50 calls a day. And literally, there can be 500 agents around the clock, right? So imagine 500 agents doing 50 calls a day.
Yeah. It's impossible to watch all of that.
So a sales leader is going to manage a sales pod, 20 people. And what's ideal is 12 to 20, right? Depends on the level of skill. So if he's doing 20 and they're all doing 50 calls a day.
That's a full-time job right there, or even more. It's impossible.
20 times 50. What is it?
Yeah, a lot. I don't know. I'm very bad with bad calculations, but it's a lot.
Yeah. So in actuality, you have to understand that it's just, that's why I built the sales machine, because I was managing 3,000 people in 7 countries. And there was no way, with the amount of Excel sheets and me going over profit and loss reports and team leader production reports, that I could manage, people in 7 countries, in 300 offices anymore. The truth be told, I was failing. So I went to these big companies, technology companies, and I said, I need help. I can't do this anymore. I'm dropping the ball because,
Yeah.
you need rewards, recognition, competition, compensation, coaching. And, anyway, no one had it. So
Well, but that's the good news. Now with the AI, you were able to build the sales machine. We were able to build AI coach, and companies are finally able to build a lot of products that can do that work for salespeople and sales managers. There are softwares that they can like fill out the CRM, right? So there is always this discussion that sales reps, they don't fill out the CRM.
those are called address books. If you got a notebook, you got one of those. If you can use Excel, you got one of those. They don't empower people and drive performance. In actuality,
Yeah.
67% of them aren't used by the salespeople. That's the statistic. How crazy is that? So, Wonderway is brand new. I love it. It's a startup. How long has the AI coaching been out?
Almost a year now. So the company exists since 2017, but the AI coach is obviously a new one and has been a year. So we're still building.
So you got really busy really quickly with the chat GBT. Come on.
Oh, the day it came out, my CEO was like, yeah, this is perfect. I still don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to do something great. And then we had our offsite in Bulgaria where we were skiing. Well, I wasn't, but, my colleagues were skiing.
You were probably doing your hair.
No, I was drinking mulled wine in the bar. I'm not an alcoholic, by the way, but it was way too cold, and I'm not a really snow sports person. Like as we mentioned before, I'm from Portugal. Like snow, it's not the thing I'm comfortable with. So I just stay in the bar drinking mulled wine. But my colleagues were skiing, and then in the end, we had like workshops and ideas, and we came out with the idea of the AI coach, and then we've built it. Yeah. And the idea came from everything we just talked so far, which is everyone is super busy, but everyone needs coaching. No one gives coaching because no one has the bandwidth to do that. So let's help that.
I absolutely love it. I'm literally implementing, integrating AI in the sales machine as well, because it can be a game changer to help companies go from ordinary to extraordinary in Excel, especially doing the mundane work that a lot of people
Mundane work, exactly.
don't want to do. And what has been your experience at Wonderway? How many clients do you got using the Wonder? Let's call it Wonder Coach.
Wonder Coach, I like that. So we've started selling it officially in October after the alpha phase. So we've got around 20 clients so far, which is not bad from the October until now.
Sure. I mean, people spend the money first quarter of the year. So congratulations on your first 20 clients. I'm going to give it up for you.
I'm super. No, we're super happy. We didn't expect such a great success on that, and was very, very good to finish up the year. Also, with the recession, I'm sure you feel that in the United States too, but here in Europe, the recession is real and budgets are shrinking. So, so being able to, with such a new tool in a recession and downturn economy, I think we are very, very happy about the results.
You should feel very fortunate. I actually took the psychology and the methodology that I was using to grow the sales team and my sales organizations. I took that and I put it into the technology because it was my experience that once I systemized the process where people know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, they do it because they no longer live in fear. And with the proper training, it allowed them to build the confidence through competence. I worked with 20 different companies around the world with the same system. And when I implemented it, overall, we had 103% growth throughout the year. And a lot of them were already doing millions of dollars in business. So they were just blown away. And then they couldn't wait to get the sales machine. You know what I mean? Because they wanted to automate the system. So, what have been the results? Because I love what you're doing. What have been the results? Do you follow up with the companies, and how have the results turned out for these companies, and how have they increased productivity? How have they increased sales? And what is the feedback of your clients?
So in general, they all said that they increased conversion. I have a customer. They said that they increased the conversions from meetings to close deals of 39%, which I was like, that's very high. I'm not sure. Like, are you sure? And they said yes, and they were comfortable. We even after that, we even wrote the case study about it because it was such a great result that we're like, you are a case study material. But in general, they definitely see improvements on the conversion. And something that we didn't think about that everyone mentions, because probably we know that when you build your product and your go-to-market and all of that jazz, there are always coming back customers and the market benefits that you don't expect, that you didn't even think of. And one of them in our case, and then we updated our website as well, and our, let's say, messaging is checking who is following the playbook or the frameworks. So now, that was something we didn't think of, but now it's something that managers really value, which is okay, we have this methodology, can be spiced or medic or their own. And now we can see who is following, who is not, and which part of if it's banned, maybe DBN, but it didn't do the timeline, right? So
Yeah, and some of them don't even do bad; they just rant.
yeah, I love that. Exactly. So for those who are ranting instead of venting,
You can give them coaching and feedback.
yeah, exactly. So that's something that most of our customers, they came back to us saying, now we can see who is adhering to the playbook and who is not, and we can go about it. And also gives confidence on the changes, right? Because something that we see often is companies, they don't update their playbooks as often as they should. Once again, world evolves rapidly, everything is fast, people are busy, and then we are following a playbook that's 6 months old or 1 year old, that they're not up to date anymore. And when you know exactly what's working and what's not, then you also have more confidence in updating it. So that's definitely an unexpected benefit that a lot of our customers mentioned that we, at the beginning, we didn't think of.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. It's, getting feedback for what's working. And, there's always going to be iterations. AI can learn, but it doesn't learn as much as we would expect, right? Not nearly as fast as a human can connect the dots, but definitely getting better and better and better. I always say there's two types of companies out there, the quick and the dead.
I like that. Yeah, exactly. I think that's a great summary. Yeah.
It is. And if you're outdated, you're going to get outsmarted and you're going to get left behind. And there's a lot more companies out there in the graveyard that are actually than there are companies that are doing good. And that's why I love this podcast, because I really want to help companies go from ordinary to extraordinary and empower them with real people that are doing relevant things. And it doesn't even matter if they're doing them with AI. Yeah, and I've had a lot of AI experts on the podcast, and essentially a lot of people fear AI. That's why, salespeople are going to be relevant for a long time, because ultimately, especially with high ticket sales, people need to know, like, and trust you to part with their dollars, and there's levels of trust. I was just at the headquarters of a software partner that we partner with their ERP solution. And we provide our solution to their clients. And I'm like, more than ever, sales is never, it's going to evolve, but the fundamentals are forever going to be about service, helping people, doing it for them, solving big problems, and making sure people are satisfied. So I love that you follow up with your clients. But ultimately, there can be a much easier way to identifying your market, making sure you're talking to the right individuals in the market, making sure you're offering them a solution that they're satisfied over time. So what's next? What's next for Mustafa and Mafalda?
What's next? So as you mentioned at the beginning, I'm writing a B2B sales book, prospecting. I wouldn't say sales. I like to say prospecting because that's my area of comfort in Portuguese. So that's something because I think sales still has a really bad reputation, and that's such a shame because it's such a great job. And I'm sure that if people didn't have these, like, let's say, prejudice, probably more people would like to work in sales. So I want to write like a sales book that anyone can read and understand, no matter the background. So even if they don't know anything about sales, and also what we said at the beginning, right? So something that you can read and apply right away and be good at your job, because even when people try the sales job, if they had a bad onboarding or poor training, they'd be like, okay, they confirm their bias. It's bias confirmation. Like, oh, I already knew this was a shitty job, and it's not, right? So I really hope, what I hope to accomplish with the book is not only, like, as John Barrows says, elevate the sales profession, but also like giving the tools and the tips and what works and what doesn't, and so people can read and apply and hopefully get more successful and more confident about the job they're doing whenever they try. So that's now my goal for my
Sounds
personal
like
goal
a
for
mission.
the coming month. Yeah.
I like it. And John Barrows, by the way, has been on this podcast.
John Barrows is, I'm a huge fan. He's one of the advisor of our AI coach, and we are very happy to have him on board. And I'm a huge fan of John Barrows. And he also wrote that book with his daughter, so also selling,
Yeah, he's sending that to me for my boy. Great guy. I registered a book and I haven't finished it yet. It's called Door to Door Superman.
Ah, nice.
I own doortodorsuperman.com. So I'll be illustrating that like a comic book and talking about kryptonite.
I'm also writing a comic strips for Q1 with our logo, with Wonderway Coach. So I'll let you know when it's out, but it's basically short stories, like comic strips between our coach and a sales rep, and hopefully.
I wrote an interactive course called The 7 Superpowers to Building Championship Sales Teams. That's all about awareness, accountability, acknowledge, accept, adjust, align, and appreciate. Those are the 7 superpowers. When you can do that, systemize it, automate it, come on. That's how I built thousands of salespeople. And not many people out there. There's a lot of people doing sales. This is what I recognize. There's a lot of people teaching sales. That's what I recognize. The Sales Machine Playbook that I'm going to publish is how to build and scale a multi-million-dollar sales force. Come on. Because no one wrote that book. I know people need that book, man. I would have paid you $100,000 for that book 20 years ago. It would have saved me lots of years on my life.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well with the content that we, not we, just me and my company, but we people who produce content for free. That's how I see it, right? It's like, if I'd have known this 10 years ago, my life would be much easier, right? I would have had much success making more commissions and all of that. So that's definitely, I totally agree with you. And that's I think sales content creators, the ones that create content that's actionable and applicable, they have that in mind. And there are so many great resources out there for free that people can leverage to their own benefit. That's a fantastic thing. And all of it is something that, like, oh my God, I wish I would have known that 10 years ago.
Well, I'll definitely send you that 7 superpowers.
Please do.
You can use it with your sales team. I give it away to, CEOs all the time. And Mafalda, this has been an absolute pleasure for me.
Absolutely.
I love your mission and I love your heart. There's something you said that really touched me. And, because no one taught me how to sell. No one taught me how to sell in a boardroom. No one taught me how to sell from the stage. No one taught me. I had to really learn on my own how to recruit, train, retain, and empower salespeople. And a lot of people give up, and a lot of people gave up on me and my opportunity in the early days because I really didn't know how to train. I really didn't know what I was doing, and it became a passion for me. And I wasn't in love initially with what I was doing. It was door-to-door sales, but I was in love with why I was doing it. And I was doing it initially to help my mom. I was raised by a single mom and I wanted to buy her house. And so that drove me, regardless if it was a shitty sales job, door to door, outdoors, in the rain, in the snow.
Oh, I can relate. Yes.
So, but I fell in love, not with what I was doing, but why I was doing it. And then along the way, I actually fell in love with training other people and watching them go out in the field and have no clue, absolutely no experience. And I was able to empower them and transform them into becoming great salespeople. I fell in love and I bought my mom a house, but then I fell in love with what I was doing, helping people, and it changed everything. And that's why it touched me when you said, when I started out, no one onboarded me. I was an SDR. I was freaking lost. And a lot of people came and went because no one helped them. But you figured it out and you stuck it out. And now you're building a book, and it's your mission to help people understand that sales are not so hard. They're not so difficult. I always say, and you can use this in your book, win in service, never nervous.
Nice. Yes, that's a very good one.
Well, it's the best. Quite frankly, it's the best because a lot of people say, I'm not a salesman. I don't want to do sales because sales has a bad name. And I always ask them when they come in, I always ask them, do you care about people? Do you like helping people? Do you understand? As long as you got a great product or service, sales is something you're doing for them, not to them. Come from that place and space, and you can become great at sales. Be curious about how you can help people. And that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. I love your mission. Thank you so much. Tell me, where can people find you and or work with you in your company? Because I'm happy to promote it. There's a lot of cake. You used to sell cake. Well, guess what? There's a lot of cake out there, and I love to help people get more of it.
So to find me personally, definitely on LinkedIn. That's my almost only social media. And also on YouTube, you can find my 2 podcasts, A Day in the Life of, where I interview buyer personas for you. And also Sales Training Dreadless Sins, where I interview sales experts about common sales training mistakes. So you can listen to them and not make those mistakes yourself. And in my company, www.wonderway.io. But if you find me on LinkedIn, you'll find my company as well, because I post every day. I don't leave you alone. So there you go.
Amen. Thank you. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, a powerhouse, Mafalda Johannsen. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, John. It was a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to send a review about what you liked on this podcast or share it with somebody who would need it to definitely improve their business, building and scaling sales teams, do me a favor, like, share. It means a lot to me so that we can help others grow and live in abundance. That's a wrap, folks. Thanks for joining me today. And if you got value from this episode, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and refer a friend. And if you want even more value, go to thesalesmachine.com, click on resources, and there's tons of resources there to increase profits and drive performance in your business. Right on, come on.